Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Force Friday. So we're in the second week of February 2022, and we are holding a contest every week focusing on character design. All right, character design is one of the major avenues or even careers that one can go after using Force. There's many, of course, but for this month, we're doing character design. If you're interested in next week's assignment, then check out my Instagram account or Matunjay's or Swendley's. Each one of us will be posting tomorrow, Saturday, what the next assignment is. And then we will be back here next Friday to take a look at the different contestants and pick a winner, okay? So a lot of exciting stuff to look at. I tried to bring in as much art as I could. We got more contestants this past week, and we got, I have to say, much higher skill level of work. You guys really bumped up, the ante on this. In fact, we started a minute late today just because the three of us were debating on who won, and it was really difficult to make a decision. So, so that's good. That's to your guys' credit, right? That it's that challenging for us to finally decide. So let's get to it, right? As we know, this took some time, and I would love to give whoever we brought in a fair shake at, giving you some information to help you for next week. As always, if you like what we're doing here on this YouTube channel, then please hit the subscribe button. And if you hit the bell, you'll get notified automatically as to what we're, when we're preparing for the next week and when we go live. I think that's it. So let's do it. Let's get through these. I brought in a lot of submissions this time, more than last, so we will probably talk less about each one, more short, but get to talk about more of you. Very quickly, I kind of changed the order of this a little bit, but these are our main notes when it comes to the character designs. Above everything is clarity, right? Like, is the, there's clarity to the assignment. Did you hit the assignment, right? We have evil male fairy. Can we even see that? Right, that's what we were dealing with Space Cowboy last time. It's like, do we even have that idea in there? And to what degree? How clear is it? There's certain tropes you have to hit, which means there's like the cliches. There's certain cliches that need to show up to some degree, and you can tweak them and twist them, but it's not like I can say, do, evil male fairy, and you come in with a guy dressed like a cowboy, right? Like, that doesn't work, right? So you have to get into the bucket as fast as you can, right? And I would jot down a list of what are the things, right? With the cowboy, it was like the hat, the spurs, the gun, right? The bullets, maybe bullets on the belt, the clothing, the scarf or kerchief, there's like all different things that you can do to try and make that happen. So clarity across everything. There's the assignment. How creative were you? Is there some inventiveness to this in those tropes, and how much is there? Is it a cool design, right? Skill level. How well are you able to pull off your idea, right? Do you draw well? I'm not focusing too much on painting in here, right? Because this isn't really a painting website. We don't teach painting. If you did it in color, great. I'm not really giving added points for that, but that's cool if you did it. Function. We want things to make sense. They should clearly represent the character. One thing that we came up with today, we were really looking at is, in the assignment, we should know who the character is. It's evil male fairy, right? So can we see the evilness? How are you showing that to us? What is their pose? Is it in their face? Like, how are you getting that across? There were some designs in here where the skill was really high, but there was like no performance, right? So there needs to be something there, right? And last but not least is force. I'd like to have some poses that show rhythm in the body, fluidity. They don't have to be hyper dynamic, but the poses should show the clarity, again, of the character of their performance and who they are, right? I wanted to share with you, I grabbed a couple of images here from the internet right before we got started today that show sort of like promotional marketing art for characters, right? Some of you, by the way, are, really pushing the boundaries, coming in with more like concept paintings. It's like the character in a story moment. That's great if you know how to do all of that really well also. Otherwise, you're putting yourself in a situation where some of that might actually hurt the character design. Okay, so be aware of that. there's at least going to be 2 or 3 examples of that today, where the artist put a whole scene and a whole painting with the character, and it ends up taking away from the character. So here's like Ms. Marvel. It's character design, costuming, power, right? Somewhat of the attitude, the forwardness in the chest, so confident, probably flying, right? So we get some information out of this, right? I grabbed really quickly these shots too. So this is the kind of stuff that happens when films are going to go out. They'll do these like publicity shots of the actors, right? So it's like, who is this guy? How is he standing? What's the color of his costuming? The big X, right? In a sense, you can almost argue is like the beginning of understanding that something's going on here. Why is he using 2 weapons? It's also very non-traditional for the Jedi. Like, what's going on here, right? And then yet you have Obi-Wan confident, more of a traditional, kind of pose, also lightsaber, driven. So just be aware, be aware of the simplicity of things. It doesn't have to be, over the top with the illustration. Okay. All right. So let's get to it. Some of them I took snapshots. Some of them I wrote like the name. So this is Gotta Carrots, right? And again, obviously, Swanli Mritunjay, hello, first of all, I've been carrying on here. How you guys doing?
Good. Ready to judge some evil male fairies.
Yeah, exactly.
Exciting. A lot of good concepts.
Yeah, very exciting.
So we have Gotta Carrots, right? Any thoughts from you guys?
I really like the illustrative quality of it. It's just like really feels like a fairy, I mean, the illustrative quality is just like screaming that kind of topic, But again, just the evil, right? That evil thing, he doesn't look that evil, He was just like really searching for that. But it's good.
Yeah.
I really like the legs and the position of it. It's very good.
It's drawn well. I think it's drawn and designed well. The creativity aspect, I guess, of it, you could argue is, in a sense, the humor, which is a tough thing to pull off. It's kind of like a sarcastic piece. Ironically, I'm watching like Sopranos right now, and this feels like the Tooth Fairy for the Sopranos or something, right? It's like overweight Bruce Willis flying around with fairy wings. I wish it had more. It's good. And I just wish there was more of, I don't know, more of something. If you're going to push this direction, maybe it would have been funnier if he was wearing like jewelry or diamonds, like just push the gag, right? I would maybe push the gag even further than where it is, but it's got a lot of good stuff going for it,
I would say more evil, like
Yeah.
It's fun, but it needs to be clearly evil. Like the guy, he could just be a good guy, So I would definitely push it and clarify that aspect of the character.
Yeah, he could have been like holding a crowbar behind his back. That would have given us more, right? Yeah, I agree. This is MDHCZ Matizaman, right? I love the forcefulness of this. I love the posing. I like how you use the reference and drove it to a new place. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on in here, Maybe a little more on the costuming, a little more information. The wings are extremely simple. I don't mind simple, but even if this was, let's say, for a TV animated series, I think there'd be more information in the wings. So clarity, right? I come back to that word clarity. I wish the design had a little bit more clarity within the nuances of it, But it's drawn really well and skill's pretty high. I think I put the word more is what pops into my head with this guy, Good, relatively good silhouette, a little bit of tangenting going on with the hand and the leg over here and the wings. So there's a little bit of congestion going on here, to watch out for. Yeah. Anything from you guys?
Yeah, I would say, to your point, the drawing is very good, very forceful. I would say the fairy aspect could be clarified a little bit, because this could also be interpreted as just a demon, So I think that's maybe 4 wings, maybe more of like butterfly-like wings. So how can you clarify that it's a fairy and not something else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this one, by Opal Arrows, this is a great example of what I was saying earlier. There's a lot of good stuff going on here. I brought this in here specifically because I love that you took the time to write here as well. And pretty detailed information. 7th child of 8, public love him for kindness and bravery. Mantis forged the sword of Espion now wields. So there's a lot of great background, really rich. It's almost like out of a tabletop, RPG, right? I love all of that. I love it. So I would highly recommend, first of all, keep doing that. And as you said here, sorry if you have to crank the brightness to see him. My Cintiq super old. I see. So it's even if I brightened him, right? Here, let's just do that for argument's sake, right? My main issue with this is not the brightness per se, but that the value is still, and the color, you see, so here it is brightened, is still very much the same, right? You have this yellow back here, but it's not really helping you. If the grass had been yellow and he was green, he would have stood out. If he was yellow and the grass was green, he would have stood out. So you need something in here to let the character pop. My suggestion for all of you for next week is don't worry about giving us an entire concept art, like illustration of an environment with a character within it. It's a tricky enough assignment as it is to try and get good character in a pose that represents them with clear function of all their different elements, with good skill, right? Like there's a lot going on there. These are, people out there, the best of them are working these jobs, right? In order to do this. If I was an art director at a video game company with you, and I said, hey, do this job, and it has to be done by tomorrow, and I need to see some designs, the last thing you would do is take time putting the character into an illustration, right? I want to see iterations of different characters and shapes and forms and proportions, right? Different functions and ideas, right? So don't worry about putting it in illustration, okay? Because I think your work is pretty good. I'd love to see you get rid of the noise and just focus on the person, okay? And your write-up is good. I like where your head is. Your skill's pretty high. Yeah, I think you're bringing down your art by not knowing the tools yet of composition and design and painting and how to bring this all together. And that's challenging. It's tricky to get a character in a shot, with the composition being good and yet clearly represent them, and that's like a whole other, it's a whole other course, quite honestly. I love this. You also did this work over here. I love the beetle reference. I love the headpiece. You're doing all the right things except that final piece, Okay, so next week, please don't even worry about the illustration because I'd love to see you just come in with awesome character design, okay? Okay, let's see, moving on. Right up against that, similar issue. So again, we're in a scene, but the contrast between the legs and the background is so subtle, not only in color, but also in tone, right? Like I could barely see what's going on. And then we get up into the darkness of the second level of sky that's really dark. And, so is the cape, right? And so is the body. So it's really hard to see this person. I have to say this is actually better, right? Because, okay, I could start seeing what's going on here, right? The line at least is clearer than the painting. So you're trapping yourself in the paint job and taking down the actual artwork instead of the finesse of, all that color and all the value and lighting effects and so on, right? So let's see, who is this again? Rose Animation or Ross Animation. Yeah, I would just not worry about this. Or if you're going to paint the character, just put them on a simple backdrop, a medium gray or a light background. As you saw with the Star Wars pieces I just showed you guys, right? Very simple, minimal background, focus on the character, okay? It's another thing to say, hey, let's watch Star Wars and see these characters moving through story moments and acting, backgrounds and environments and all that. That's like another 3 to 5 different careers in there, right? To understand, like the production designer, the art director, the guy who's constructing the piece, the director, right? It's just a ton of other work. With all that being said, in the line, see, all of a sudden I start noticing some other issues. I'm like, what's going on with the other foot? I'm not sure about the clarity of it. The wings are on the same angle as the leg and the arm. So I would play with the different axes of things to create more contrast. So the silhouette becomes more clear, you know? I've been hogging this one. You guys have any thoughts on this?
There's like one thing that catch my attention, like if he's a fairy, right? And he has wings for sure. In the final piece, you added cape to it. So just think about the function, right? If he really
Yeah, how would
need
he
that,
fly?
yeah. If he has wings, like why he need a cape, you know, for sure. And on this, I mean, yeah, it looks like a very interesting angle, but we are again just looking for the character design, not concept design. And you're missing so many like great shots. Like this character has a lot of potential, so you can show okay how the body looks, you know, how the armor works. And in this angle, the body and the face is becoming like really narrow, obviously because of perspective, but then we miss the main parts of it, you know. We cannot like enjoy it enough for that. So my recommendation, function and more information, right? Again, that more word is like popping out. So yeah,
I think I think I remember when I read your write-up, I loved your idea about, you know, there's nothing more evil than standing on someone else's chest, right? It was in your description. I think that's cool, you know, but maybe it is more of a dead-on shot, you know, like horizon line is more at the character's eye level or lower, so we're looking up at them a little bit, but not this. I wouldn't go this far, you know. If this was an illustration contest and I said, hey, take a character design and put it in an illustration, it'd be a whole different ballgame, right? But we're really trying to focus on just purely the character design itself. So maybe that's a good way of me clarifying what some of you are falling into here. You know, I'm not looking for illustrations with the character in it. We're looking for the design of the character. What do they look like? How do they work? I want to see a performance, but as if they were there standing in an infinity stage, just standing there, and it's like, you've been chosen as an actor to perform in this film. Here's the piece of marketing art for it, right? So the world starts getting an understanding of who this character is. What are you going to do, right? How are you going to show us who this person is? The costuming is all there, of course, right? And then you're going to take some kind of pose, and then some guy will come in with Photoshop if there's magic and put that stuff into that photograph, and that's pretty much it, you know.
Yeah, so just like with the previous one, you want to find balance in the pose. You don't want to make it too static, but you don't want to push it so far that it starts detracting from the character. You know, like the Captain Marvel piece is a wonderful example. You want to pose the character in a way that shows off the character.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, so it's quite neutral, the camera angle. You know, it really focuses on the character. As soon as you want to avoid extreme foreshortening, that's one thing for sure, because it starts hiding the character a lot.
Yeah, we can't see the design as clear, right? I mean, again, you can see in a way the monotony of these, right? It's like, here is this character, this person in this film, in this show, in this game, right?
I would say just design the character, and then once it's fully designed, you're just like very happy with it, then you can play with the character as much as you like afterwards.
Yes, that's right.
First, again, like understand the design of it.
Yep. Okay, there's this one. Oh, you know what? Sorry, I didn't take the photograph of the name on this one, so my apologies. Maybe one of you guys can look this up on Instagram for me while I'm talking about it, but it's cool. I think the skill is pretty high on this. My confusion, I guess, is functional in this one more than anything. I don't understand. The raven is on the guy's arm. He looks like he's flying. Somebody asked, by the way, was it Delano? Speaking of simple backgrounds, what are the options? So this is a great example of a great option for a background, right? It's gray background. There's an implied floor plane here with the shadow, and there's just a simple shape behind the character. So this is a very common way of doing character design, is have like a really simple shape behind the character. The shape could be a logo, it could be an icon of the character. Like if it's Superman, you might have an S back there or the silhouette of an S. But that's it, right? It's just a way of branding, right? Of like branding the character, right? So my confusion here is just, you know, the raven's on his arm. The raven's obviously not carrying him because he's not flying. He has wings, but it doesn't look like he's using them, and he's floating. So I'm like, what's going on? You know, what's going on here? You got the evilness piece, I would say, pretty good. Creativity is okay. You know, it's more in line with, I guess, what I was imagining. You know, I like the little skull shoulder as well. Yeah, I think it's got a lot of good stuff going for it. There's a wand here that he's holding. I wish he was using it. Right? It's like, what does that look like? Or is it a wand? I'm assuming it's a wand, but I don't know if it's a wand. Maybe he just picked up a stick off the ground, right? Like, I have no idea. Any thoughts, guys?
This guy is Gillis Roger on Instagram.
Oh, Gillis, yes. Mhm.
It looks very good.
Yeah.
Again, it's the simplicity of the background that really attracts me. And I think someone, Delano, asked in the chat, like, what would be the best example?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. This is good. This is a good background example. Yeah, no, most definitely.
I wish
Yeah.
really that piece, that drawing, it's like some kind of bush in there, like
Mhm.
with the character. That would be like really good if you just like kind of explain it, like, oh, is he like his power is just like break off the stick and transform it into something, you know? So
Yeah.
that would be good, right?
You know, guys, like a good note to be aware of is there should, again, it's clarity. There should be no ambiguity. If something's in there, it's there for a reason, right? Why is it there? Otherwise, don't put it in, right? I forget if it was like, I forget the name of this acting teacher, but there's these really famous books Russian teacher had done on acting. And there's this famous phrase about, you know, if there's a gun that shows up in act 1, it better have a reason in act 3 for being there, right? Like, you don't show off something like that and not use it later, right? It's got to have purpose. And it's kind of the same thing that Matunje is getting to here, is like, why is that bush even there? You know, what's the point of it? Give it use. Even if it was decorative, maybe you put it around the frame and it's thorny, then its use is to kind of present the danger of this guy, the pointedness of this guy, right? Like, the risk, right, behind this guy. But right now, it's not really doing much of anything, and it could do more. I also noticed that I'm kind of unclear about what's going on here. I love the strap, this like asymmetrical strap. I don't know if it's what the wings are attached to, or like is that part of a costume or not, you know? There's a lot of good stuff going for it, Gillis. I would just say, man, keep focusing on the function, make things really clear to us as to what's going on. And this is so weird, but when I look at this, my first confusion is he's flying, he's not using his wings, and there's a raven on his arm. I'm like, what's going on, right? Like, the raven's not carrying him, and he's not flying, he's floating. So how does this all tie together? You see? Okay, it's good. Skill-wise, very good. Creative, pretty good. Function, I'm not sure what's happening, right? And I think you did a relatively decent job of the assignment. You know, like, you have evil, I have notes of fairy in here. I think there's a lot of good stuff happening. Okay, let's move on. We got a lot more to look at. So what are you doing? All right, what are you doing? I would say my first note here is the background's killing you. You know, we just talked about backgrounds and simple background, but it's so dark and the character is dark. I could barely see what's going on, right? You worked on all these silhouettes for the character, and yeah, I have to like really look close to see what's happening. I would actually go into levels, or I would play with the contrast, bump this up, change it, clarify it. Or just, you know, if the character's dark, you should have a lighter background. If the character's light, you should have a darker background. There should be a relatively high level of contrast so we could see, you know, the character very clearly, right? I liked your note here. You talked in here, I forget, I don't see it here. Oh yeah, the levitating thorns. Yeah, use them for attack, which I think is kind of cool. That's a cool creative idea. I don't remember ever seeing that before, and I've seen lots of movies and comics. I don't remember something just floating around the person's head and using it as a weapon. So that's kind of neat, you know. Could use a little more skill. It's drawn okay, a little bit more. Costuming again and stuff it's kind of hard to see just because of the darn background. And I'd say the value, maybe more contrast change in the values of the costume itself so we could see the elements of it, you know. Anything you guys want to add?
Yeah, I like this one a lot, like especially the bigger drawing. There's a lot of personality. You can see like this crazy evil character.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the pose that is like him attacking with the thorns could be a bit clearer, since it's such a cool idea.
Mhm.
So maybe these two poses should have been on a separate page, because right now you're trying to cram everything on one page,
Mhm.
and maybe that hindered you from showing off the clarity, because I think the tone should be like around his hands, flying off, and you need a little bit more space to show that, but
It also
yeah.
looks feminine, not masculine, right? I'm not sure if you purposely pushed to female, but you said even male here, right? And the goal of the assignment is male, but looks more female to me than male, to tell you the truth. So there shouldn't be a confusion in that either, right? As
Yeah.
nowadays I get it. There's obviously a lot more flexibility in sexuality and all, which is all great. But when the assignment is specifically like it's male fairy, like how do you do that? I purposely made that the assignment to kind of break down the assumptions of male and female, because you think fairy, at least for me, I usually think female. I think of Tinkerbell and stuff like that, right? So it's like, okay, let's go to the other side. How are you going to do that? Right? All right, let's move on. Are we doing on time? Okay. Why don't you go first, Swenley?
Yeah, this one, posing is very cool. First of all, very forceful and energetic. Good shapes, pretty good silhouettes. I think it could have been improved even more if I think this arm could have been out. That would have made the silhouette like even clearer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the evil part is there. I can see it's a fairy. So yeah, I think to Mike's point on early designs, a bit more, a bit more like design to clarify the concept. And I can pinpoint exactly what's more I would add. I think just pushing the design a bit more creativity, and really showing off that it's an evil male fairy.
Yeah, like I and having the opportunity to listen to you and giving me more time to look at this on the creative aspect, like the clothing is so simple that it looks like a guy went to the store and just bought a t-shirt and a skirt or something, right? And that's it. And he has like a sort of a almost Red Riding Hood kind of shawl with a hood attached to it. It's too simple. I think it needs more. Either armored and medieval or and I said evil male fairy. What's kind of interesting is I never said if it could be science fiction or not, or Western or not, right? We assumed fantasy, but you could maybe have taken that and twisted it into some other genre, right? And functionally, I don't know if those two wings would carry this guy. That's one of my main dilemmas. They look too small and too weak to carry this guy's weight around. And then his feet, I'm like, are those shoes? Are those his feet? And you didn't do the toes. There's wings attached to them. What does that mean? Does he use those to fly and, or run faster? Because that kind of alludes to Mercury, right? It's drawn well. So my suggestion for you would be is the creative side, more reference. I would look up more reference with a more defined goal. What am I after here? What is the time period? What's the look of the clothing? What kind of fairy is this? Better costuming. I think better costuming would have really helped this a lot, because you draw well, so it's not a skill issue. It's more about learning how to put like a mood board or a reference board together, how to pick and choose your best elements and come up with better work, because you've got one of the hardest things down, which is the skill part of it, right? Anything else from you guys?
Good.
No, I think that's clear.
Okay. BB Amros. And can one of you guys just look up who this was? My apologies again, I didn't take a snapshot. So while we're talking about this other person, I just want to get their name in here. So this is BB Ambrose doing Tika. Thoughts, Swenley?
Yeah, this one, I think the character is crystal clear when I look at it. I can see the personality. It's kind of crazy, and I love that that pose in the bottom right corner with him biting the hand to take the ring off. So yeah, I think it's simple, but the idea is there, and the character is there, the clarity is there. So yeah, I liked it a lot. Maybe the clothing could have used a bit more work, you know, like, yeah, like what would this guy, because maybe you took inspiration because it reminds me of Peter Pan for some reason, like the simple Disney-esque clothing. And if that's the aesthetic, I think it's fine. You know, I just think like maybe you could have given this character a bit more like unique clothing as a fairy, or maybe it's not even clothing, maybe it's like some kind of armor or something like that, you know, or plants, you know, just a bit more creativity in the costume.
Even pattern or trim on the clothes or something, you know, would have done it. You know, it's kind of interesting about 2D and 3D, and now 3D really leads obviously with most of character design work, is it gives you more opportunity to put detail in that is doable. Like if there was an older 2D Disney animated film, you'd want to keep things simple, right? Because you're drawing hundreds of thousands of drawings of the character. But I would say go for it here, you know, like add just a little bit of nuance. My main things here, I would agree with Swanley 100%, and yours is one of the best performance pieces. I think the acting is one of the best ones. I really get a sense of sort of evil troublemaker, like, and full of energy that's hard to contain, you know, in this character. I love the biting of the finger because it shows scale. I'm like, oh, okay, wait a minute. This character is only a few inches tall, right? By seeing that hand there, it puts this, you know, puts me in a whole other world with this character. The big functional problem that I have with this is the wings. The wings of any insect or bird or mammal, the strength of the wings on the top and the designy parts on the bottom. And it looks like it's inverted. You know, it looks like this is supposed to be the bottom and this is the top, at least from what I understand, especially here too. And I think what you were going for is this here, which is almost like the thumb on a bat wing, but then it wouldn't sweep like this, and these things don't make sense here. So there's anatomy that's missing here that would better show the function of the wings off, you know. Otherwise, there's a lot of good stuff going on here, and I, you know, keep doing it. Like, I think you're on the right track. Drawing's relatively good. I like the posing. I like the character. I like the acting that you got in here. I'd say just when you're dealing with something that deals with another creature, in this case, almost like a bat butterfly kind of wing, do the research, right? Go and figure out what does that really look like and how does it work, and bring that in here. So, and why bother, right? Because it's believable, right? Because there's believability. We know what these things are and how they work. Even if you're not aware of how they work, you know what looks right, you know? So we want to build your sensitivity to that, okay? Anything else? Anything, Mrityunjay, you want to add?
No, it's good. That the one thing again that's catching my attention is that drawing on the bottom. It's like he's biting and he's like snatching a ring, which really brings us to another, you know, tension of the scale. You know, I was about to tell that, and yeah, that's actually very good. You know, very unique.
Well, you bring up the stealing. That's cool too, right? Not only scale, but he's a thief, right? So we know what kind of and he's willing to bite somebody to steal this ring. All right, so that's kind of cool. I think you know you got a lot of story, right? A lot of great story and acting in here, so that's really good. Okay, so this is Oswald. I love the iterations here. I like that you gave us a few different designs, and you could see how you started getting here. Skill's pretty good. Somewhat creative in that it's not what I would have expected, but you got the wings. It feels fairy. It feels evil. He's carrying a magic potion. It's giving me some scale because the tube is probably not that big. This is probably like a regular size, like test tube. So this character is kind of smallish. And I think that's pretty cool, you know. You got a little bit of detail going on in the belt. I don't know what this is. I'm not sure what these things on the hip are. And I wish that was clearer functionally. It looks like he can use it as a weapon, maybe. Seeing this guy up here on the top left. Yeah, again, there's a lot of cool stuff, you know, going on in here. Maybe how he uses the poison. I know he's carrying the poison. Maybe him giving the poison to somebody, right? I don't know. Then you would have had to add another character in here to show that. But maybe at least pouring it or dripping, you know, it coming out instead of just holding it, that he carries it. I think even more evil if we saw him pouring it than just flying around with it, you know.
Maybe what you can do is instead of just going for another shot where he just like shows the function of it, if you just want to make it simple, then try like different angles of the character.
Mhm.
So and you did like 5 different iterations, which is good again. So it's gonna add some work to it, but you can again show different angles of the character and it's like dripping or like poses, like different poses, using that poison, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, it would be better looking.
Mhm. Anything, Swenley?
Um, I would say the only thing I would add is when I look at the design, my first impression is that it looks like a female rather than a male, in
Mhm.
my first read. So I would say
Mhm.
personally, that's would need a clear read. Like the one at the top right corner, that
Mhm.
one is more clearly male. Yeah. But the
Mhm.
other ones look, when I first look at it, it says female to me rather than male. So
Mhm.
that's something to look
Mhm.
at.
Mhm. And silhouette wise, this arm, I always try to get rid of tiny little negative spaces. Like this maybe this arm could have been bent out further to clarify the silhouette. Um, I think I would have liked a little more info down in the legs and feet too. I don't know if it would have been costuming or drawing of the toes. There's a little bit of incompleteness. I think the wings could have had more information in them. Right? Imagine you're going to hand this off to somebody at your studio. They're going to come over and ask, like, say, for instance, someone's got to start animating this character or somebody's got to create them in 3D. It feels like there's still more information that we need, right? It's good though. It's on the right track. You've got a lot of good stuff going on. Okay, this was Aileen. I like how much force is in here. I like all the form line. When I think of this guy being evil, it's interesting. I guess I was always thinking of him being more courageous and powerful. So you took this unique angle on the fact that he's subdued, right? And I like that in a way about it, because evil doesn't mean powerful. It could be evil and meek, right? So I think kudos to that. There's a little bit of a weird tangenting thing here. I like that you tried to do all this foreshortening on the leg, but the rib cage goes almost right into the side of the leg and it starts to flatten out the space. The same here, like that space for the back leg is very narrow. The silhouette could be clearer there. Notice you put the hand right up to the horn. So lots of tangenting up there. You're like squeezing the hand into a very tight space between the wing and the horn. So, there's this tricky thing between drawing well and designing well. And when I think design, it's almost like thinking like a graphic designer. And to me, silhouette is similar to graphic design. It's like placement of objects, clarity of the silhouette. And then from the drawing standpoint, it's like bringing in the acting and the solidity and the good shapes of the body and so on. But you want to look at silhouette of this, there's lots of things that get lost. They're too close, too tangential. You could have opened this up a little bit more in the posing and be a lot clearer. All that aside, I'd say probably maybe more costuming and stuff. It's a little simple, but it's a good drawing. There's a lot of good force stuff going on. It's pretty good drawing. I like that the wings are falling apart too. There's a story element there that's kind of cool. It's like, oh, why are they falling apart? Who is it that's here looking at this character? You guys want to add anything?
No, I think what you said, I would agree. The drawing is pretty good, just needs a bit more design, and graphic design is a good analogy because, like I tend to create logos and flyers and posters, and I'm not drawing, I'm just placing visual elements on the page, so it's a slightly different way of thinking. You have to like merge the two, which by itself is a challenge, that's why not everyone can do it.
Yeah, definitely. And pose wise, I like that you've got this situation, but again, being on the ground, one leg up, one down, it's harder to get a sense of the full design of this character, what their shape looks like and all. Don't over pose. I would recommend for all of you for next week, get the character on their feet and figure out from there, he could have felt attacked, you know, like what was the name of that character in the Harry Potter films? There's like that little elf guy, right? Like he's always feels demure and, you know, lack of, you know, he's unconfident, right? You could still do that with this guy and have him on his feet, right? Okay, let's see how we're doing. Yeah, let's keep moving. We're gonna run out of time otherwise. So this is Gerardo's design. Clear silhouette, right? The wings I wish were more clear. I get that you're trying to show that they're flapping like super fast, like an insect. I think seeing some stronger edging on them at their highest and lowest moments would have clarified it. And I think the wings are just such a great opportunity in the design. And very few of you actually went into the wings and said, what does that really look like? You know, yes, Dobby or Dobby. Yes, thank you guys. Dobby. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So that would be my first thing, Gerardo, is the wings. I don't understand the feet either, because it almost gets us to like a goat-like foot, but then it's got this like one talon. So I'm not sure how this, you know, does this guy walk around on these by the way they're bent back, or does he always land on something and hang upside down like a bat? You know, I'm not really sure what's happening here. It was going somewhere. I just think it needs some clarity of taking the idea all the way through. And then last but not least, you know, we have this cool weapon. Maybe the weapon, well, maybe not, but I was thinking maybe the weapon does something, right? Maybe there's some kind of magical power or something to it that we could have seen here as well. But it's cool. I like the shape of it. I like the design. I like the little skulls hanging off it. I wonder if he's a fairy and his head's this big, what is it that this is the skull of? Right? What are these little heads, right? Anything you guys want to add?
Just the functionality of the weapon again, you know, and
Yeah.
it might be too much that I'm saying right now. I'm like going to say right now, it's like how he carries his weapon, you know, because the weapon is big. So is it like becoming small? He just like kept it as a locket. I mean, yeah, again, I'm just like throwing things out of my mind. And yeah, what does it do? You know, that's the thing. You know, why there's a hole in between? Does he look through that hole and find his targets? And
Mhm.
you know, those kind of things. So it's
Yeah.
again, it's about the function. We're gonna be keep repeating the same things, but that's it. You know, when you're designing
Mhm.
character, you have to think about everything. That's just function of it.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna say
I,
that.
I like that there's some performance in the face. I love the asymmetry of the face. I'm just looking closer at some of the nuances. I like that kind of starbursty thing on the eye, you know?
Yeah, that really works. Yeah.
Yeah, and here's a good example of the silhouette's pretty clear and the darkness of the character is on a light to medium gray background, so we can see them, you know? I think the costuming itself could use maybe a little bit more contrast just for clarity, but the silhouette's pretty clear, you know? Anything, Swinley?
No, I think you guys were pretty clear and to the point with this one.
Okay. So this is Mikey's, right? What do you think, Swinley?
Yeah, this one I would say when I look at it, it's clear. You know, I can see evil male fairy. The character is very clear. The silhouette is there, and yes, like the soul in his hands. So I think this one's very cool. You know, and also the little drawings to the sides, like showing more of the character. So yeah, I think overall, like this one, like it's all the criteria, you know, of good character design.
Mm-hmm. I like that the wings have a detail in them. It's one of the few where the wings have some kind of priority to the design. I like that the color matches the stone floating in the staff. It looks like this guy is holding or manipulating some kind of soul. I do wish that maybe the wand or the staff's stone was the thing pulling in the spirit, right? This ghost. So we can see that that's how he does it. There's a little bit of an issue here with looking at these two ideas and seeing if they're connected or not connected to one another, right? Silhouette's great, design's great, the acting's great. It's clear, it's on white, doesn't have to be on white, but it's on white. So it really feels like the focus is on the character design. And for those of you that keep coming in with like, you know, blown out paintings, much better to go here. Let's just deal with the characters, right? Much clearer, simpler, easier, right? Anything you want to add, Mrityunjay?
No, just you know, for example, like somebody would give me these characters, and I would really just love to see like how that weapon is like sucking the soul out of someone, you know, through that weapon. It's just functionality of it, and yeah, just I mean, I really wish that instead of that like ruby, if that soul would be there, it would really explain the function, and you don't have to do anything extra with it. You know, so it's that would like really give it more function. I really like the pose that you have done on the bottom right. You know, like more forceful, just definitely more forceful. The expressions are quite good as well. You know, it's like I like this one because of the simplicity of it. It's just like again, just white background. You really focused on the character design here. It's just
yeah, and it's
that
drawn well. You know, like the structure's all good. It's done well. You know, this is a subtle thing that Mikey did that I really appreciate. Is he has this green exterior and this red interior, and red typically represents evil. And I remember when I was at Disney, one of the lessons they told us was look at the fox in Pinocchio. I forget what the outside of the cape was, maybe blue, but the inside was red to show that he's a hidden evil, right? He's sly. The fox is really sly and sneaky, and he's like there to create the demise of Pinocchio, basically, right? He's always, I forget if you guys, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it's always him grabbing these little boys and bringing them to this island and, you know, giving them access to things that like alcohol and drugs and all this other stuff that kids shouldn't have access to. And it's in Pinocchio, believe it or not, right? And that's what he's, you know, he's doing, right? So I forget what the end result or why he's doing that, but when I see that red interior, it reminds me of that story of me being at Disney and thinking about Pinocchio and being taught that. So I think that was a really clever little move. I also happen to like these horns because they're more like a butterfly or a moth's like antenna, you know, and you brought this like small little nuance in there, which is really cool as well, you know. Watch it consistent.
I thought they were leaves when I saw them.
Yeah, now these are definitely from like a moth or a, like I said, a butterfly's antenna. They have these like little feelers. They're almost like fluffy, you know. Okay. Watch the consistency here of the red circle and not having it on the wing here, right? So always make sure you stay consistent across the illustrations, but good job. Yeah, I think it's really good. I feel like I could take this and hand it off to another teammate. They could even work on this further, do turnarounds and stuff. You know, you can start building this in 3D. Yeah, it's got a lot of good stuff going for it. And by the way, it's not like style-wise, guys, we're not here to just look at like this kind of animation-ish style. I'm fine with something coming in very real or coming in more abstract. This just happens to hit most of the notes, you know. Kind of leads us to this one by Kozlo. I have a few pages of Kozlo's here. So we have this one. We have some facial expressions, and we have this note, which I love that you did this. He said metal glove for his normal arm because it prevents burn injuries. I see, because the other arm's on fire. I like also that you created this simple silhouette for the wing. I would have to say though, it anatomically doesn't work, right? Like this would never function. Nobody could ever fly using this wing. So man, this design would have been served so much further by you looking at birds or bat wings or insect wings, right? To really get something that feels believable. This is too decorative with not enough function in it. I love the claws on the fingers there, awesome. How do they stay on there? Maybe there's something that's actually attached to the rest of the finger because it feels like these would fall off, right? So it'd be cool if there's some kind of locking mechanism to this. I'd like to know what this arm does. So maybe it just literally gets hot and it's like, Human Torch, right? It's a flamethrower arm. The issue I have is when you get over here, the arm's not on fire. I don't see how the character uses it, and it seems like a big deal. And you even brought it into the wings, which is such a cool like concept. But how does it work? You know, do the wings turn into flame? Can he fly when the wings are on flame? How do they turn onto fire and not burn? I like the costuming a lot. I'm not sure about these little guys at the bottom with these like little talons on them. Like, I think it's part of the costume, but then it looks like it has talons on it. I guess like the fingers, but they're all turned upward. Is that how it's supposed to be or not be? Is there a use behind these, or is it purely decorative? There's a little bit of tangenting going on in the silhouette here, right? Feel free again, guys, to jump in.
The legs, it's like maybe you put like too much force in it, just like the front to back, to make it look
Mhm.
like it has like two separate joints. It's almost like going into an animal leg,
Yeah,
but that's like maybe not that clear. And the pose on the right, it's not that strong as front one. So front one feels very confident, it's like, very like standing in there with a confident pose, but this one just seems to be a little bit falling, towards the front.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, so yeah, and again, those the things from his costume is like creating a little bit confusing as a silhouette standpoint. So you can change things around just like you did with the wings and with the armor. You can remove that and show like much more clear things, or maybe you can show the function of it. So those
I-
are like here and there, but it's drawn very well. That's how I would say.
What's funny is it's drawn better here than here. Like the faces structurally are just barely holding themselves together. You're like right on the edge of just holding on to perspective and structure, with the expressions. I love that you did it, but it's kind of like the background thing. If you're going to do it and you're going to submit it and you want us to look at that and make that part of your submission, make sure it's really good, right? But there's a lot of great stuff going on, and I love the effort you put into it. I think it's great examples for everyone else to see all the different things you're thinking about, because you guys should be thinking about this stuff as well. If not in separate parts of your posts, then it should at least be showing up in the image. And here again, you don't have to give us the back view. In this case, I don't think it's helping you because of the falling that Mrityunjay was talking about. So even just the front view is fine. And I totally agree with him 100% on the legs. I don't know if you got over forceful, but it almost feels like you're going into like a satyr's kind of legs, like a goat kind of leg. So you want to be careful about that. I think the biggest miss here is, man, I wish I could see how this firearm works, right? Remember I showed you guys Galaxy Rangers last week with the main character as an arm that he like puts into a fist and then shoots like power out of it. I want to see that. That should be the pose here, right? Just like we showed you with Miss Marvel flying and her hands glowing. Like, man, it's like you got a weapon and you're not showing us how it works, right? It's such a missed opportunity. So main thing is that, and the wings. Function of the wings, I'd say, is the other big one for me. Okay, good work though. A lot of good work. Bring in more next week. So this is J.G. Williams, right? I think it's a good painting. It's similar. So this is the same artist that sent in. This is Jason, and Jason sent in work last week with the female astronaut, right, standing on like Mars with her head facing away from us. So here you learned, right? You changed it. You gave us a front view. I love the story. I think you brought up that your daughter was helping, which is so fun. You got your new art director supporting you, from what I remember reading, right? Silhouette is pretty clear as well. There's a little bit of funniness going on, I think, in the anatomy of the leg to the foot. But in general, drawn well, painted well. I don't know. For me personally, I'm starving for more. I want more detail, more info than just a guy that's red with these wings. You kind of focused on the rendering and the painting and the beauty of that versus the further conceptualization of the guy. I just noticed this. I do like the little spiked elbows. That's a great little touch, Yeah, great little touch there. I think I just want more, it's not like I don't like simple, but I feel like I want to get more out of this guy, It's good. There's a lot of good stuff going on in it, Yeah. For me, I feel like you're teasing me. I'd like to see more on this. Any thoughts from you guys?
Yeah, I would agree. The skill level is very high. So if you manage to combine that with like the more creativity that Mike talks about, then you have a winning combo. So remember that the design is first and foremost, and then comes the rendering. So focus on the design, and even if it's just a drawing, the creativity that you're showing through the character, that's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, we're running out of time, so I'm going to mow through these a little more quickly here. This is Donald's. Good silhouette, right? The wings functionally are upside down, right? The wings straighter part is usually at the top with the curve on the bottom because the top is more hard and more firm and structured. So functionally, this wouldn't work. I like that you played with the length of the ear, the length of the nose. I like that he has a weapon. You put it in a scene, but it doesn't take away. So here's a case where the risk of the scene doesn't take away from the design, you know, but it's risky, you know, but Donald did a good job of holding up, you know, the silhouette of the character. We have some of the personality in here, a lot of good stuff going on. I wish it was structured better, drawn better. I think it's more about, for you, I'd like to see more of the form and stuff in here. You know, structure is probably the thing that needs the most work, okay? This one is Sahararenes. Drawn well. I like the story. You know, he's like trying to tease this girl into smoking a cigarette. So there's this evil component to the fairy. I wish the wings were up to just kind of see them working maybe a little bit more, to represent them a little bit more from a design standpoint. I wish the character had a little more detail in him. It feels a little underdressed, and I don't mean like clothing wise, but if it's just a body, then maybe there's some tattoos, some accoutrements, some jewelry, just something to dress him up more. Face is really cool, you know, you draw really, you know, really well. From a character design standpoint, as we said before, the silhouette's really low and squashed to the ground. So you're missing the opportunity to stand this guy up and so we can see what he looks like, right? Think back to those Star Wars images that we showed at the beginning of today, or Ms. Marvel, right? So again, I think you draw well, you put the focus into the story between two characters instead of putting the focus on the character design itself. That's the big miss here, okay? I'm gonna mow through these ones, guys, okay? Just so we can get to the end. And apologies for the rest of you out there. Let's see, Lazy Goblin. I remember you posted last time too, so thank you for sending it again. I think I want more uniqueness out of this, right? I like the wings. Background here again isn't taking away from design. That's good. Cut this guy's head off. He's evil. I just want more. He's just a, you know, it's like a muscular guy with a little piece of fabric with some wings and the swords. I like that it looks like he broke his chains. That's cool. Cool story moment. I wish the design had more than just a nude person, you know. JK character design, pretty good. Love the pose. I love the movement of the pose. Love the force of the pose. The wings feel like they're not closing in on the center of the back, but they're to the left of the back. So watch the perspective of the wings, the structure relative to the plane of the back. I like the story in here. I like the bloody knife. I like the gold, right? So we got a thief feeling in here again, which is kind of cool. Again, I wish maybe there was a little bit more detail, maybe a little more attention to the wings. I think if the wings had more, that would have made a big difference, you know. Watch when you're doing clothes that you don't come to tangents over here on the edges. You really want the clothes to feel like they wrap around the forms, and right here it cuts and stops right at the edge. You want it to feel like it really goes all, you know, fully around the form. A lot of good stuff going on. Again, I think my main word here would be more. I'd like to see more, maybe more on the body, more on the wings, most definitely. But a lot of good stuff going on, you know. Male, evil, yeah, I mean, I think you hit the assignment, so good work. This is Annalisa, right? So I think I remember your post, you were like, moths are evil, was your personal vendetta on moths. So you went from moth wings, which is fine. I'm not clear about like the function of the nose. I guess it's because it's supposed to be insect. Like, I like the little hat that he's wearing. I think this needs more skill. You have some ideas going on here. It needs more skill in structure and in volume. I don't know if I understand the tool. I just noticed that. Right? Hold on a second. So yeah, the tool itself is a little confusing to me on how it actually works. What does it do, right? Perspective on the wings isn't bad. I like the evil face. I like even the leggings, like on the costume. He's got a belt on, maybe a little more information in the pants. Watch all the tangents. Notice that the leg and the arms and everything all come to one point in one location. So everything is compressed in a very small space, right? Okay. Eugene scene. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. I love that you submitted work. It's slightly different in style than the rest. It feels more like mature video game or even towards film. So I really appreciate that. You know, Swanley Matunja and I were talking about this earlier. We all really love this design. I love the millipede like helmet. I like that you showed us the step down here of what, you know, how it works and all. The anatomy feels somewhat, you know, doable back here. You're trying to make us believe the 4 wings into the back. Really cool. I like this clarity of the knife. I think the biggest thing for us that's missing here is there's no performance. You know, sure, we can argue the guy standing there and he's confident. I get that. I wish there was more. I wish we had gotten more out of this guy, or at least in one of the drawings. You know, if not like the main design, the 3/4 front and back, maybe something down here about that. That's kind of interesting. I like how you're showing the wing overlaps the arm. So some function going on with the arrows. That's really cool. So it's hard to tell if he's evil. Like, I think, you know, Swenley said this earlier before we came on. He could be like an anti-hero, right? Couldn't actually be a hero. Hard to tell, you know? So my suggestion for next week for you would be try to get a little bit more performance in there, right? So we get a sense of who that character is. Give us a little more clarity. Everything else looks great, right? Skill's good. Yeah, it's cool. A lot of fun ideas in here, you know? All right, so here we are at the end, past time. We have our top 3 this week, which is the one we just looked at. I think we really all love this design. Here's our other one, was Kozlo, right? I'd say again, function, man, just push for the clarity of what the job is. This one, again, more acting and performance in here and clarity of that. And then last but not least, again, also a little bit of clarity piece in here. So we had to pick one. There's only one winner. I got to say, all 3 of you that were in the top 3 made it very difficult for us. We were debating quite some time across all 3 of you. But the winner that we finally chose was Mikey's, which is the one that's on screen right now, for all the reasons that we mentioned before. We've got the evil aspect, the acting is there, the performance is there. I like the detailing in the costume. I like the wings. I like the subtlety of the red in there. My one wish for this would have been just to see the ghosty kind of thing going into the gem. I wish I had seen that piece of it. Otherwise, I think we all agree that you hit, you know, all the other aspects for the contest. So anything you guys want to close with or add to that?
No, it's all clear. I would say thank you for making our jobs difficult. We were debating up until the last minute before we went on the live stream. So yeah, awesome work, guys. Awesome work.
Yeah, so much better than the first week, I want to add. Like, you guys really upped the game, you know? So yeah, let's do it again. We're going to have a fun new character design assignment for you guys tomorrow. Can't wait to see what we're going to look at next Friday. Very exciting. All right. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you, Swanley Matunja, for all of your input today and advice and prowess. And have fun, guys. Have fun with the next character design. Good work. Oh, by the way, Mikey, email me at mike@drawingforce.com. What he won today was Force Basics and Force Form as lifetime access to those 2 courses on the website. All right. So congratulations. Great work. And we will see you guys next Friday. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye-bye.